I got this new job. I started last Monday, and had nothing to do with content management, had nothing to do with information technology, had nothing to do with what my real interests lie. It basically had to do with you park these vehicles in these construction sites and you track people if they're speeding or not. And there's a special truck that you drive around. It takes pictures of license plates. So if you're speeding, it detects that and then it sends out a mailing if you went over a certain speed limit and you have to pay a fine. So that was the job. You sat there all day. You just made sure the equipment was working. And it was a fine job. I did it for 2 days and you mostly sit there. You have a lot of time to think. So I did think a lot. And I thought, is this something that I'm going to do long term? Is this something I'm really interested in? Just sitting here all day, just monitoring people's license plates? That's not things that I'm interested in. I love creating things. I love content management. I love organizing. I love information technology, and I love computers. So after 2 days, I left. I don't know. Maybe I had a midlife crisis. So a few days ago, I sat down at my computer with a simple goal. I wanted to improve my resume, and that was it. I wasn't looking for life advice. I wasn't having some kind of existential crisis. I wasn't planning to spend days talking to an artificial intelligence about my life. Just wanted a better resume. Like a lot of people these days, I've been looking for work. I've been revising applications, tweaking my LinkedIn profile, updating my website, and trying to present myself in the best possible light. I figured an AI might be able to help me write a stronger summary or tighten up a few bullet points. Simple enough. And that was about it. The AI helped me a lot. Updated my resume to make it more content management, SharePoint, WordPress-esque, I guess, because those are the positions I was looking for. So the AI directed me to do that. Updated the website with AI's help, and also my LinkedIn, got that all added to it and put it more towards the content management direction. But something strange happened. The conversation didn't stay focused on the resume. It started moving into other areas of my life. At some point, I found myself talking about my career. Then I started talking about my relationships. Then I started talking about mistakes I have made. Then I started talking about whether I had accomplished enough in my life. And before I knew it, a simple resume review had somehow become the most honest conversation I've had in years. And I'm having it with artificial intelligence, which is kind of weird. But it seems like, I don't know, it's hard to explain. It's obviously it's not real. It's all ones and zeros. But it felt like I was having a conversation with like a therapist or something. Like, it does sound bizarre, but I will continue. One thing that came up repeatedly was my career path. Looking at my background, it's a little difficult to explain in a single sentence. I've worked with SharePoint, I've worked with Microsoft 365, I've done technical support, I've managed websites, I've worked with WordPress, I've worked with Drupal, I've created videos, I've written articles, I've run websites, I've built online communities, I've spent years creating content. For a long time, I've looked at all those things and thought they were disconnected, like I had wandered around from one thing to another without ever fully committing to a single path. In fact, I've described myself many times as jack of all trades, master of none. But during this conversation, something interesting happened. The AI pointed out that maybe those things weren't random after all. When you look at them closely, they all have something in common. They're all related to information, organizing information, creating information, teaching information, publishing information, helping people find information. Whether I was building a SharePoint site, maintaining a WordPress website, writing an article, producing a video, or creating documentation, I was essentially doing the same thing. I was helping people understand something. That realization hit me harder than I expected. For years, I've been focused on the differences between all the things I've done. I never really stopped to think about what connected them together. Then came the job search discussion. And if you've looked for work recently, you know how bizarre the process can be. You upload a resume, then you're asked to type all the information from the resume into a form. Then you're asked to create an account. Then you're asked questions that are already answered in the resume. Then you submit the application and wait, and wait. And wait. Sometimes days later, you'll receive a rejection email from a company you've never spoken to. No phone call, no interview, no conversation. Just thank you for your interest. We've decided to move forward with other candidates. Sometimes those emails arrive at strange hours. One arrived around 4:30 in the morning, which raises an interesting question. Was anybody actually looking at me? Or was a computer system making decisions before a human ever saw my application? That's not a criticism of technology, it's just an observation. The hiring process feels increasingly automated. In some cases, it can become difficult to tell when you're talking to a person and when you're talking to a system. Last week I had 5, I think more than 5, maybe like 6 or 7 actually. I had interviews, and they were all, the interview was all artificial intelligence. And it was bizarre. I've done it before. I've done it a couple times before. It's just that's where we're headed. That's where we're at. So now an automated system gives you an interview and then someone goes and reviews it. I guess it's better than scheduling a time because you can, with the automated interview, you can do it at any time. So there's nothing wrong with that, I suppose. It's just interesting how the technology has changed so much and you don't have to deal with human beings anymore. You just deal with computers. You deal with artificial intelligence. Then there's the scams. Many scams out there trying to get your information, trying to get your banking information. So be careful about that. I had one in particular where the interview was done by automated responses via Microsoft Teams. Speaking of that, let's talk about Mycotech Pharma. This was probably the strangest part of my weekend. I applied for a position. Shortly afterward, I received a message. Instead of an interview, I got a long series of questions, then more questions, then information about payroll, then information about equipment, then information about training, then information about a MacBook, then information about a printer, then information about an iPad. At some point, they even asked whether I owned a printer. A few minutes later, they informed me they would be providing a printer. That's when things started getting weird. Eventually, I was congratulated for completing my interview. There was only one problem. Nobody had interviewed me. Nobody had spoken to me. I'd simply answered a series of questions on Teams. Microsoft Teams. By the end of it, I wasn't entirely sure whether I was communicating with a recruiter, a chatbot, an AI system, or a collection of automated scripts pretending to be an interview process. The whole thing felt like a screenplay where somebody forgot to write the characters. And honestly, that's when the conversation started heading in an entirely different direction. Because after spending a day wondering if I was talking to a machine, I started thinking about AI itself. Can AI think? Can AI learn? Can AI reason? Can AI become conscious? Those are huge questions. I don't pretend to know the answers. What I do know is during our conversation, the system was able to recognize patterns in what I was saying. It noticed things I kept returning to, my career, my regrets, my creativity, my tendency to downplay my accomplishments. And that led us into a discussion about identity. I'm 56 years old. That's old enough to look back at your life and ask difficult questions. Did I make the right choices? Did I waste opportunities? Should I have taken different paths? What would life look like if I had done things differently? Spent part of the conversation talking about my divorce, talked about an old girlfriend, I talked about drinking, talked about mistakes, talked about things I wish I'd gone differently. Those aren't conversations I typically have, not because I'm hiding from them, but because life keeps moving. Work needs to be done, bills need to be paid, projects need to be completed. We don't always stop and take inventory. This conversation forced me to do that, and something surprising happened. I realized that I had become very good at focusing on things that went wrong. I would look at my life and immediately think about the failures, the disappointments, the relationships that ended, the jobs I didn't get, the opportunities I missed. What I rarely focused on was everything I had actually built. The websites, the videos, the articles, the projects, the communities, the skills. During this weekend alone, I created 30 short YouTube videos, 30. And yet somehow my brain wanted to focus on a handful of rejection emails instead. So an ex-girlfriend of mine, she said to me, I squandered my life. I've squandered my life. I've divorced. I drank a lot, missed opportunities, things of that nature. And that's what I believed anyways. Thought I did squander my life. AI kind of put things in perspective. Yes, a computer put things in perspective for me. That's basically why I'm making this video. It's just the fact that everyone's so afraid of AI and against AI for whatever reason, but it's got extreme benefits, and this just happens to be one of them. That's when I started realizing something. Maybe the problem wasn't that I lacked accomplishments. Maybe the problem was that I wasn't giving myself credit for them. And I think that's true for a lot of people. We measure ourselves against some imaginary version of where we thought we'd be. Then we ignore everything we've actually achieved because it doesn't perfectly match the plan. The truth is, my life doesn't look the way I imagined it would. But it isn't empty either. Far from it. And that's probably the biggest thing I learned. The AI didn't solve my problems, it didn't hand me a job, it didn't fix my life. What it did do was give me a place to think out loud, a place to connect ideas, a place to reflect, a place to notice patterns, and maybe that's enough. Today I still don't know where my next paycheck is coming from. I'm still searching for work, I'm still applying for jobs, I'm still hoping those interview requests start arriving. But I also know something I didn't know when this started. I know who I am a little better. I know what kind of work I enjoy. I know what kind of future I'm trying to build. I've just been chasing my own tail for so long. I've done jobs that I don't particularly want to do, and I understand you've got bills to pay, and you have to make sacrifices. You have to do things that you don't necessarily want to do. But I suppose at this stage of my life, that's not acceptable. I want to do something that I enjoy for a living. I don't want to retire at 62, but if I have these dead end jobs that I keep getting, that's probably what's going to happen. I got the money to do it. I don't want to do it. I'm worth more retired than I am now. And this reflection all came from artificial intelligence, a conversation I had with artificial intelligence. And I'm actually going to write a book of all the conversations that we've had because they're interesting to me, and maybe someone else will think so. It's like talking, almost like talking to a human being, but it's not. Obviously, I'm talking to a computer, but it's so sophisticated now. The technology is so sophisticated now. It's crazy, and it's therapeutic. And I know that as long as I'm still creating, still learning, and still moving forward, the story isn't over. And honestly, that's a pretty good place to end this video. If you ever had a conversation that unexpectedly changed the way you think about your life, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear about it. All right, gals and guys. Thank you for checking this out. Thanks for checking this out if you happen to make it to the end, if you watched it at all. I know it was kind of a bizarre video. I don't know. Totally off the cuff. Totally unexpected that I was going to make it, but I wanted to make it because that's what I do. Certainly subscribe. Always looking for subscribers, and share this. If you have an AI story, shoot it at me. I'm trying to lose weight now too, and I'm using another AI chat for that. It's just weird. The technology is just weird. And it's like talking to a coach. I now have an employment coach and now a weight loss coach. All right, guys and gals, I appreciate you as always. Please subscribe, share, like, and I'll catch you later. Bye-bye.